Courtroom 1530 at 100 Center Street in New York has seen its fair share of alleged crooks and schemers. Right now, though, that courtroom is host to a criminal defendant like none other. At this moment, the disgraced, twice impeached, 4 times indicted ex-president is currently on trial for 34 of the 88 felony counts he faces for illegally concealing hush money payments made to cover up a sex scandal from the American voters on the eve of the 2016 presidential election. Jury selection is currently underway after hours of intense back and forth over key pieces of potential evidence for the trial that took place this morning. Also, a rebuke by Judge Juan Merchan that only adds to Team Trump's incredible losing streak on the legal side heading into today. The judge denying their request for the judge himself to recuse from the case, saying that Trump's claims that his daughter's work for Democratic politicians creates a conflict of interest are, quote, innuendo and inferences. Then, prosecutors and Donald Trump's defense attorneys tangled over what will be admissible at trial, with Judge Merchan issuing several rulings on that front. Evidence involving the National Enquirer and a catch-and-kill scheme to suppress stories that are bad for Trump and to publish stories in his favor. That evidence is in. It will be admitted. The infamous Access Hollywood tape. The judge said that the tape itself is out, but what Trump said on the tape can be introduced as evidence in the form of a transcript. Tying Michael Cohen's guilty plea to Trump is out. The tweets that show Trump's pressure campaign on Michael Cohen before he pleaded guilty, those tweets are in, but only on rebuttal. The overall picture, according to the New York Times, is this, quote, the prosecution is getting favorable rulings on these questions about evidence so far, as Justice Merchan is generally saying that he will permit them to introduce various types of evidence. Prosecutors then tackled an issue that has loomed over this case and practically anything else in public or civic life involving Donald Trump, and that is his consistent, dangerous, violent rhetoric. The district attorney accusing Trump of violating the gag order. NBC News is reporting that prosecutor Joshua Steinglass, quote, argued that Trump's efforts have continued to this day, including spreading falsehoods and attacking Michael Cohen. He said the witnesses in the case, quote, have incurred the wrath of Trump supporters, adding that Trump, quote, skillfully, obsessively puts out posts attacking his opponents, both in the political sphere and in court. The judge has scheduled a hearing for April 23rd on these issues. A dramatic day one of the people of the state of New York versus Donald J. Trump is where we begin today with some of our most favorite reporters and friends. NBC's Vaughn Hilliard is outside the courthouse for us. We'll go to him in just a second. With me at the table, New York Times investigative reporter Sue Craig is here. Also joining us, former Brooklyn prosecutor and MSNBC legal analyst Charles Coleman is here. Also joining us, former senator and co-host of MSNBC's How to Win 2024 podcast, Claire McCaskill, is with us, as she always is on these days and on Mondays. Sue, I see your notebook. I'm desperate to grab it and read it. Tell us what's in there. What'd you see today?
I just want to say, first of all, thanks for having me, and I'm glad for the air conditioning here.
Oh, yeah, it was hot.
It was very hot.
Hot enough to make a grown man snooze.
It did for a moment. I have to say, during the morning session, I was in the overflow room, which most of the reporters were. There were very few people in the courtroom because the jurors needed to get in, and they're anonymized. So the overflow room was packed, but we had a visual of Donald Trump. And for most of the morning, I think he was quite engaged with his lawyers, passing notes back and forth, whispering and the sort of things you would imagine he would be doing. And then around noon, it looked like he was nodding off, but you're not sure, but you're watching him. And then all of a sudden his head went down and then snapped back up. So that was quite a moment to see that, given.
As someone who, live TV is the only place I don't nod off because I have a small child at home, so I'm sympathetic to the snoozing. But
it was hot in there.
Someone pointed out to me today that when Joe Biden blinks too long, it's a major issue. That he nodded off in his own criminal trial is just an interesting contrast to what I'm sure we'll hear from him when he walks out today.
Right. I think there'll be a lot of fire and fury when he's out of
Correct.
There. They're just finishing up now jury
Maybe
selection.
That's what he was resting for.
I think we got a real insight into why this is going to take so long. I think everybody's sort of been, why is jury selection going to take several weeks or 2 weeks at least? Mm-hmm. Today, the whole morning was consumed with procedural motions, some of the ones that you mentioned at the top,
mm-hmm.
Whether or not one of them is the National Enquirer, whether we should have a broader view of his relationship with the National Enquirer and getting stories planted. There was another one. There's a ruling that Melania's, she was pregnant, that likely won't come in. I think everything can change at trial if the notion is introduced, but there was a lot of that going on. And then finally they got to jury selection in the afternoon, and in the overflow room where we were watching it, the screens just went dark for an hour because all of them had to go through security again. And this is going to happen every day. And then once the jury was inside, the judge spoke to them for about half an hour, and he read to them a lot of the names that may be mentioned at trial and also the names of the witnesses. And then he asked any of them if there was a reason that they couldn't serve. And that could be because maybe they have a family issue or because they just simply couldn't render a fair decision. And 50 of the 96 jurors in that room left, 50, 51, but more than 50
wow.
right away. So then they started going through the remainder, and they were asked questions that, we've talked about, publications that you read, everything down to, have you been to a Trump rally? 42 questions, and that is, Judge Merchan said in the morning, it's the longest questionnaire that he's ever seen. So this is going to take time to go through them, and there's going to be, a lot of jurors that each side doesn't want. So I can see this going for some time just on the jury selection. And
the 50 that were sort of gone up the bat, that was on the single question of, is there any reason why you can't be impartial?
Yeah, if you feel you can't be, you can leave now, no questions asked. And I think there was also a part in there, maybe you've got another reason, but you can leave now. And so 50 just got up, and they were not interviewed often. In a case like this, the jurors will then be interviewed on the way out. They were just allowed to leave to try to expedite this. But just getting them in through that, there's a level of security when you come into the building. Part of the building you can't even get to, it's on the 15th floor. You have to go to a separate elevator bank. And then once they're on the 15th floor, they have to go through another level of security with the mags that check to make sure you've got nothing on you. So just a time-consuming process.
And get to this jury. Who's so known for casting his various workplaces, you said he was engaged. Does that include sort of weighing in as individual potential jurors?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course it did. There was a moment where the judge asked them if they could be fair, and he's rolling his eyes and that kind of thing. And that's what you're seeing. And we're relying on a live feed. One of my colleagues, Maggie Haberman, is in the courtroom in a live feed that we're able to watch. But that's the sort of stuff that was being reported back to us. So there's a lot of that sort of theatrics.
We've been joined by the one and only Vaughn Hilliard. I'll let you just pick that up if you've heard Sue's reporting.
Good to see you again, my friend Nicole. Look, we've just got 23 minutes left here until the day one of the criminal trial of Donald Trump comes to an end. Judge Merchan just in the last minute saying that he will conclude today's proceedings regardless of where they are in this jury selection process. We should note, nearly 2/3 of the 96 jurors, those from that first batch, were dismissed from the outset off of that question of fair and impartiality or otherwise unable to go forward and being on the jury. One of the first 4 potential jurors who did go through that entire 42-question questionnaire was immediately dismissed upon answering question 43 in the affirmative to this, quote, do you have any strong opinions or firmly held beliefs about former President Donald Trump or the fact that he is current candidate for the presidency that would interfere with your ability to be a fair and impartial juror? That one question alone, that potential juror said yes and was dismissed. We're looking at here, Nicole, when I look at the totality of this case, if I may, you go back to August of 2015 when David Pecker, who is the CEO of American Media, the parent company of the National Enquirer, sat down with Michael Cohen and Donald Trump and planned out a catch and kill scheme, but then also planned to, per Michael Cohen, in testimony that David Pecker has already provided to federal authorities, a plan to plant stories that were negative about people like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz through the primary process. In this case, really tells the story of, you look at Michael Cohen, an individual who flipped on Donald Trump. You look at the Alan Weisselberg, somebody who is currently at Rikers jail because he has stood solely in the corner of Donald Trump. And as a consequence of that, he finds himself in jail and unwilling to testify truthfully about Donald Trump. And so in the totality of the 9 years of the Donald Trump presidency and everything that it has brought to our system in so many ways. The characters and individuals who we're going to be looking at brought forward by District Attorney Alvin Bragg are going to be compelling voices under oath that are going to be testifying, all while Donald Trump himself must sit there, required as a criminal defendant, to actually listen to these individuals who had been such key figures throughout his last 10 years of his life.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.